And I know I've seen some of you over the last few weeks as we've been in here doing the enrollment for the Section 125 for this fall. And obviously, I'm sure there's a lot of questions with regards to the HSAs, and that's kind of why we decided to go ahead and talk about the HSAs today, kind of some of the comparisons with the flexible spending and some of the rules that govern it. Because when we were here, what we found was there was people that had these set up that actually weren't, that had a spouse. They were thinking that they could do the 6250, but their spouse was covered. There were some limits that they weren't aware of. So I want to make sure that we're clear if you're considering the HSA or if you have one and there's some changes coming up within the family. We've already heard a little bit about it. They're talking a little bit about the HRA and how they kind of come into play. Well, the flexible spending is very similar to that. You can have a flexible spending account with an HSA, but only if it's a limited flexible spending account. So just like on the HRA, very similar things apply. This is kind of a comparison of each of the things, and we're going to talk, obviously you heard about the HRAs, you know about that. We're going to talk a little bit about the HSA over here and compare it with the flexible spending accounts. So the first thing we talk about when we're just kind of as a definition, the health savings account is the Section 125, or I'm sorry, the flexible spending account is the Section 125 where you can take money out, pre-tax it, and get that money back. And I know, I'm sure a lot of you have done that in this room. It's been a great way over the years. It is being squashed a little bit as time goes on. The government, or the IRS, has now limited that to $2,500. So sometimes with things like orthodontia, we have to get a little more creative than we used to when we had more money at our disposal to put into that account. So your limits are $2,500 on that. With the HSA, you have different limits. Those limits on the HSA basically says you can take money out again, put it into this account. It's basically a health savings account, very similar to if you just had a regular savings account. The only difference is you can put the money in pre-taxed, take that money out and reimburse yourself for, again, eligible medical expenses, dental, vision, orthodontia, those types of things. And so with the health savings accounts, there's some things that come into play that haven't come into play before with the flexible spending accounts. And the first one is the limits. The limits are $3,100 for an individual and $6,250 for a couple. And in this district, as we've talked about a little bit, the district puts in money if you go to the Plan 9, puts in money towards it's the difference in the cap. And correct me if I get messed up here. And so what you want to do is make sure that you put as much into that as you can. So if the district's putting in, say they're putting in $5,000 a year, but you have a cap of $6,250, it benefits you to put a little bit more in there and get that built up as quick as you can, because with Plan 9, you have those large out-of-pocket deductibles and maximums, okay? And the sooner you can get to a point where you have money in there that you can cover, the worst case scenario comes up for your family, you have the money in there to cover those medical expenses. If you never have that situation pop up, then you can use that money because, again, different than the FSA, in the health savings account you can roll it from year to year and take it into retirement with you. And we heard about the HRA. We talked a little bit about, let's see on here, it's on this one, with the HRA, what it allows you to do is take those into retirement with you, and in retirement you can pay for things like Medicare A, B, and D, long-term care, medical expenses without paying taxes on them. And so that's a huge benefit of going to that, because as we know with the flexible spending, if you don't use it, you lose it. So that's one of the big benefits of going to an HSA. And that's why I encourage you, people are going to go into, a lot of times people will go to Plan 9 and say, well, I'm saving money and I'm healthy, I don't think I need this. The key to Plan 9 is having some form of savings that you can protect yourself with if you have that catastrophic event or a large event happen that creates a lot of out-of-pocket expense for you. So that's the big key to an HSA, is making sure that you have the money going into it. In this case, in your district, you've got the money going into it if you go to that plan, and it's a great thing to take advantage of. There are rules that apply. We heard a little bit about the rules with, when we were talking about the HRAs. The same thing applies with the flexible spending. Okay, you can't have, you can't put $6,250 into the account if you've got a spouse that's also covered. And I think that was one of your questions. Okay, you're limited. If you have insurance you can't ever be double covered and have an HSA. So if you're the employee and you're putting in money, or money's being put in, the limit is $3,100 unless your spouse is covered by your plan and they don't have any other insurance. Okay? Then you can put $6,250 in as the max. Does that make sense? Because that can get to be real confusing with people.
What about dependents that are covered? Now, what if you can cover until they're 26, but what if they get a job, say, and they get insurance through that job, and you can cover them?
HSAs, the rules for HSAs are built on what money goes into the HSA, okay? So you can put money into an HSA as an individual or as a couple, okay? Dependents are not included in that, all right? The money can be used for dependents. Same rules apply as the 26 years old. But with the HSAs, it's based on the spouse and the employee, okay? So, and that's going to dictate how much can go in there, just those two things.
I just want to clarify, $6,250 a year if the spouse doesn't have medical coverage, but if they do, then it drops down to the 31?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So then you can only...
So basically, if you were single, it basically just you become a single individual at that point. Now, keep in mind with the HSA, you can use the money for expenses incurred for the whole family. It's based on what you put into the HSA. Okay, what goes in. That's how the laws are written. So right now we know that if you have more than one coverage, that's going to limit it. If you both have double coverage, you're not going to be able to do it at all. We know that with a flexible spending account, it's really important. If you have a flexible spending account now, and the new year kicks off on 9/1, or 10, what is it? No, I can't remember. 10/1 here. So if it kicks off on 10/1, then you have to have every penny gone from that flexible spending account, or if you had an HRA that was not limited, you would have to have everything out of there before you could start putting money into the HSA. Okay? So if you get to 9/30 and you've got $100 left in your flexible spending account, you're not going to be able to put any money into your HSA until the grace period runs out, which is 70 days. And that's really important to remember because that can get confusing also, is that we have a grace period that goes 70 days and then the money clears out of those accounts after 70 days. And so if you have money left in there at the end of the plan year, you're still going to have to wait before you can start putting money into the HSA, or before the district can put money into the HSA for you. Okay? Any questions on that? So the other things that to keep in mind with these are, we talked a little bit about what you can use them for. They have a debit card that comes with them. You can get a debit card for your spouse. Starting this year, we no longer in the state of Oregon charge for our HSAs, so there's no monthly fee. There are other fees that apply as far as almost rarely will they ever come into use because of the fact that we don't allow people to overdraw and things like that on the account. But as far as the cost of a debit card and the monthly fee, we don't charge anything. It's a zero now. So it's kind of a benefit for you as school employees because that's the only ones that receive that in the state of Oregon. Let's see. Any questions right now with regards to the health savings where we're at right now?
So why is it that I can't be on hers if I have an HSA? I mean, I don't fully understand, I guess, and I guess this is something I shouldn't hold everybody up with.
No, and that's a good question because I mean I've asked that question and I don't necessarily understand exactly why, but it's
see, here's my other point: is if she has an HSA with the school district, how can she be on my? Can she still be on my policy?
Well, my question at that point would be, if you have, no, she can't be. She can't be on your insurance and have an HSA through the school district. She has to be on a qualified high deductible plan, okay, which is Plan 9. The only one in the state of Oregon that qualifies is Plan 9. Okay, so she has to be on that plan for her to be able to get an HSA within the district. Now,
So that's basically my only choice then, right?
If you go to Plan 9 and want to get an HSA, yeah, you can't be on his insurance.
Well, I can't be, because the
No,
city's saying.
No, I can't be on yours, is what I'm saying.
Right.
If you stay with the 6 like you currently have, you can still be on my insurance. But I can't be on yours because the city is going to.
That's correct. Because the HSA, that the city cannot give you an HSA and allow you to, and allow you to be on another, if you do a double cover. Right. And that, it's an IRS rule, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they're looking at, what, okay, this is a way that you can put money away, protect yourself against a catastrophic.
But how can normal people afford medical costs nowadays? My husband just had his knee replaced. It was $100,000 by the time it was all said and done. Because he got a staph infection. I don't have $100,000 sitting around in my account.
Well, I guess I'm not clear. You have coverage though.
Yeah,
And you
But
have
it was,
coverage.
but we were lucky
we
because
haven't
we had
changed
double
policies yet. The
coverage.
city hasn't changed yet, so this is something that's in the works, but it's,
But keep in
It
mind,
was a paid for.
huh?
You just, when you meet your deductible and then insurance kicks in, you know,
Yeah, see.
the percentages kick in.
see, what you have to keep in mind is that on the plans, with ODS plans, and I'm guessing probably with the city, you have maximum out of pockets, okay? So if you had something that it cost $1 million, it was, catastrophic, critical care for 6 months, and you're into it for $1 million, you're not gonna pay $1 million. You're not gonna pay $100,000 because you have maximum out of pockets that you're gonna pay, okay? The idea being with the HSA is that you can build that HSA up to a point where you now have enough money that no matter what happens, you can cover the maximum out of pocket, okay? That's the theory behind the HSA.
And I understand that part.
But but there's restrictions, and the idea being is they're trying to get people to go to the higher deductible plans. I mean, that's what ultimately the goal is, to get them to go to the higher deductible plans and take on for themselves the responsibility of putting that money away and protecting themselves. That's going to help hold, because what does that do to your premium? It holds your premium down, right? Going to those higher deductible plans. And then by doing that and putting the money in the HSA, now you have that protection to protect you. And what the district does is they put that money in for you so that you have that available.
It also causes people to think about what they're buying.
What's going to happen is someone's
More
going
of
to
a
say,
consumer.
a lot of times you'll have people that run to the doctor for exactly. And so what it's going to do is if I know that I'm going to pay the first $1,500 out of pocket, my son says, I got the stills, I need to go to the doctor. No, you don't need to go to the doctor. We'll take care of it at home, and if it's something that's serious, yeah, we'll go, but we're going to take a little closer look at how we use the medical system. And that's the theory behind it. So now, if you had double coverage, and you had an HSA, there would be no reason for you not to go to the doctor all the time. And this kind of holds you back from doing that. Any other questions? So I think I've got some brochures over here that talk about the HSAs. If you're interested in it, come by there, grab a brochure, read about them. Does an HSA work for everybody? No, it doesn't. I will say that in this district, with the way that they have them set up, it's a pretty good deal. I mean, you can really help yourself out. And if you're in good health and you see that you're taking care of yourself, it may be the thing you want to do. You may want to look seriously at going towards a Plan 9 with an HSA to protect yourself. It's up to each individual. And the big benefit, I'll tell you, this year with Plan 9 is them coming out with that tier on the, for the drugs, for the prescriptions. That's huge. Because if it's a preventative, a lot of those preventatives that were up there listed, there's a lot of people that take those that may have been paying a lot on Plan 9 that now are going to not be paying nearly as much.
And I say though, yes.
I'll let you talk about that because I have no idea. So with the HSA, I'll get finished up here real quick. With the HSA, again, there's benefits to it. There's great benefits. One, it can roll over from year to year. You can put more money into it than you can put into a flexible spending account. Keep in mind, If you put $100 in one month, that's what you have in the account. If you put 100 in the next month, now you have 200 in there, okay? It's not like the flexible spending where you put 100 in and the full amount for the year is loaded in the front of that account. But you don't have to worry about the use it or lose it. You can take it to retirement with you, roll it from year to year, use it for the same things. You can use it for, again, Medicare, long-term care, and for medical expenses in retirement. And they also get interest. Those accounts are interest-bearing accounts after you hit about I think it's $2,500. So it's variable. You decide. And the last thing is, again, when you set those up, keep in mind that we do not charge for those anymore. So that used to be a big deal, I know, for people because they were paying anywhere from $2.50 to $4 a month. And you're putting money in there, that was a pretty good chunk of money, but that's all been wiped out now. So, any questions? And I'll be done and out of here.